It's Friday, so that means Michael Smerconish is here to discuss. He's CNN political commentator and, of course, the host of CNN's Smerconish. Michael, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us. This has obviously been a very difficult period of time for these families of the victims. It's a hard story to cover. President Trump decided he wanted to speak to the American public yesterday. What went through your mind as you watched that press conference unfold?
He wants to control the news cycle. Even amidst a horrific, catastrophic event, the highest priority is that it's about him. It was on a day when, as you've been discussing, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was back on Capitol Hill, Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel. A lot of news, potentially negative news, relative to those three controversial, high-profile picks. Every ounce of oxygen spent talking about DEI yesterday and today, where it seemingly has no place, based on the facts that are known, is one less moment that we're discussing those nominations. And I do believe that it's all connected. I mean, when they all came out yesterday, I found it unusual because, of course, he has a role to play as consoler-in-chief. And he started down that path. And then I found it unusual that, he was followed to the podium by Vice President J.D. Vance and also the Secretary of Defense, although obviously there's something there to be said about the role of the Army helicopter. Secretary Duffy's role, totally appropriate. But putting it all together and everybody sort of echoing that same message, I found myself wondering, what do they know? Why are they talking about DEI? There must be some element of this that they're aware of. And then Caitlin Collins asks the appropriate question. And he was diminishing in his response to her. Totally appropriate question. It's what was begged of the situation. And it became obvious that, no, there's seemingly no connection. Now he's causing people to wonder, well, what do they look like? Three families are suffering the loss from the Army helicopter. And he's turned this into a situation of, are they white? Are they black? Are they male? Are they female? When seemingly it's got no place. The helicopter was in a position where it shouldn't have been, it seems. And that's it. It's a human factors story, not a story about race, gender, ethnicity. But he wanted to control it, and he did.
Well, and Michael, I think it's also worth saying here that, and our Pete Montine very eloquently on our air earlier, we played his comments. He became visibly angry, and he explained that he was angry because he knows what it's like to be in that position. He lost his mother in a plane crash, and to have that kind of speculation become the focus before all the facts are known, when in fact these families are grieving still. I mean, the number of hours it was less than 24 hours had passed from when these planes plunged into the river to when the president stepped to the podium. I think it's worth reminding viewers, let's just watch a little bit more of what previous presidents have said in times where the country is collectively grieving and trying to support the families among us who are grieving the most in these situations. Let's watch.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
To all those carrying on this dangerous work, to the families and loved ones of those still missing, our prayers are with you.
The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
Of course, those presidents talking about the Challenger explosion, the Oklahoma City bombing, and of course the horrible events that unfolded at Sandy Hook. And Michael, I think it's also worth noting that in the past, when presidents have failed this test, and I would say that George W. Bush did in the wake of Katrina when he said, "You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie," as Americans were suffering, the American public has chastised them for that. They have been chastened for that. Is this something, I mean, we have not seen that really happen with Donald Trump, and maybe this is just another one of those instances on a long log of times when he does something that's outside of our expected norms and people don't really care. What do you think?
So the news cycle is just a fire hose of information, and it's very difficult even for me, and this is all I do. I eat, sleep, and drink the headlines and immerse myself in the news. There's a lot going on, and it's hard to stay on top of it. So for somebody who has a normal job, right, and they're doing something and getting a little bit of news, my greatest fear is that his narrative now takes hold. And so last night I had to go and watch how is this being reported, let's say, elsewhere. And they were parroting his line. It had become a conversation about diversity hires. And I'm saying, this is insane. He said it, they parrot it, and now for half the country, that's what they're going to take away from this. And maybe there's a story in here eventually that relates to DEI. I don't think so. But it's sure as hell not the story yesterday or today.
All right, Michael Smerconish, always grateful to have your perspective, sir. Thank you very much for being here on this Friday. And do remember to tune in to Smerconish tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. It's right here on CNN.